Hi, everybody. Uh, we're back and going to try and see if we can speak with Amina Farah again on menopause and perimenopause. Let's see. Hi, everybody. We tried to do a live at 5, but we had technology challenges and also Wi-Fi. So we're going to try and do it now. If not, we'll reschedule. Mm-hmm. Hi. Yes, I can see you're asking. Oh, perfect. Ah, wonderful. Ah, wow. So good to see you. Oh, this is great. I almost gave
Good to
up.
see
The
you.
weather had me in the doldrums. Yeah. But very nice to see you. And there's people asking questions already about hot flushes and perimenopause. So I
Okay.
think we can just start again. So hi all, this is Harriet from Harriet's Botanicals. So good to see you this evening, this Thursday evening. And this is our live with Amina Farah that had been scheduled for 5 p.m. You know, usually we do our lives on Thursdays at 5 p.m. We try to do at least one every month. And what we love to do at Harris Botanicals is bring you amazing people to come and speak to you about your health and your wellness and all those beautiful things. And our aim really is to empower you, educate you, give you enough information. As you know, our products deal with hormonal issues for women all the way from puberty, when women are having or girls are having very painful cramps and developing endometriosis, and women early 20s as well, trying to have their babies and experiencing ectopic pregnancies. And then we go and speak to the women who have primary ovarian failure, which Amina will talk about today. And then, of course, we have perimenopause and menopause. And in all that, we have fibroids, ovarian cysts, and PCOS, and adenomyosis, and blocked fallopian tubes, and all those things that affect us. Now, perimenopause and menopause, it's only recently that we've really started talking about this condition and how it affects African women. It's been taboo. Around here, it's actually taboo to say that, you know, you're perimenopausal or you're menopausal or you don't have eggs. And since it is the end of the fertile stage of a woman's life, and Africans generally really view fertility as high premium. So this is a very intense stage for many women. It's almost like the opposite of puberty. It's now you're
Yeah.
exiting, and I always say, you know, you're entering your golden years. You know, this is now the stage when you're entering that sacred time, you know, the time when you have you know, come of age, so to speak. And I think we'd like to emphasize that as well. So Amina has had a very interesting journey. She's an incredible person, an incredible woman doing amazing work. And she started out just like me in corporate, legal to be precise, and is now more in the business of health and wellness, working as a coach, as a lifestyle and wellness coach, incorporating nutrition and fitness and other modalities. So, Amina, please tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came into this journey and where you are now and what your focus is.
Thank you so much, Harriet, Chabet. I don't
Mm.
see you though. I don't know if I'm the only one who can't
Well,
see
now
you.
I can
Um,
see you. Before I couldn't see you. Let's see. Can I think it's
um,
just the technology. Let's
can we confirm that
see.
everybody can see both of us?
Okay. Can you see? Because I can definitely see you, and that means I'm able to record with both of us. Let's see.
Okay.
Can you see both of us? Wave. We see you both.
Okay. So I'll just trust in the technology because I have a blank screen for you. But
Okay.
it's not a problem.
Okay.
We already had a technical issue earlier, so with our power failure for me in Kiambu. So there.
That's fine.
Um,
Hmm.
but thank you so much for having me on here. And I love that you're doing this in, what you're doing in the field of women's health and wellness. For you, it's just health and wellness for men and women.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm focused on women's health and wellness. I'm an advocate for women's health and wellness, and specifically for women going through the transition of perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause.
Okay.
And it's really inspired by my own journey, excuse me, where I found out that I had already gone through menopause and I had no idea. So there was kind of a disconnect with information for me from the doctors that I was seeing. And I found out that I went through premature menopause. So menopause, generally, the average age is 51. I'm now 52, so I should be going through it now. And when I found out that I'd already gone through it, which was in my late 40s, which I say is kind of my COVID gift, I transitioned from hospitality now into women's health and wellness. I realized that, we're not talking about this topic enough, even with doctors, even the medical profession, and I call them medical fraternity because I feel like we're part of the same team, are not talking about it enough. And I think this is something we should start talking about more. We should recognize that it's happening to us as women. We're all going to go through this if you live long enough. At generally around your mid 40s, you would start to experience perimenopause, which is the phase leading up to menopause. It can last anywhere from 2 to 10 years until you hit menopause, which is when you haven't had your menstrual cycle for 12 consecutive months. And then once you hit menopause, the other phase is postmenopause. And so for women like myself who've gone through menopause, it's about how do we live well and how do we kind of handle the transition with less hormones that we used to get when we're younger, which is estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, because those are our sex hormones that we all have as women. And yes, we also have testosterone.
Okay.
So for me, it's become, I've always been interested in women's health and wellness. Even when I was a lawyer, even when I was in finance, I used to be a fitness instructor. It's something I did on the side, and always wanted to come and work mainly in women's health and wellness. And here I find myself doing it, and I love it. I do.
Excellent, excellent. So just tell us a little bit more about what you're calling premature ovarian failure. I think that is a term that a lot of us don't really understand. Maybe you can just outline what that means, because you're
Okay.
saying it's like the peri before the perimenopause.
Yeah. So the three phases I mentioned: perimenopause, time leading up to. Some people say premenopause. Premenopause is when you're just having your normal cycle, when you're fertile, when your eggs are being produced. So it's only that's normal. Then you go into perimenopause, menopause, then postmenopause. So some women, as a certain percentage of women, will have what's called primary ovarian insufficiency, or
Okay.
that means that you have basically your ovaries fail when you're younger. And that was my situation.
Okay.
But I wasn't really told that, right? And so women need to be aware that this is a possibility for them, especially, if you're looking to get pregnant and you're waiting a bit longer, which is kind of what is happening. And I think for me, I waited a bit longer till like my late 30s, and then realized that I was struggling to get pregnant. But nobody ever used that word with me, that you have POI, premature ovarian insufficiency, which means you go into premature menopause.
Okay.
So I kind of hit my early 40s. So I'd moved to Kenya back home in my early 40s and was still trying to get pregnant. I was going for fertility, kind of going to see fertility doctors, trying to get pregnant, but nobody used that word with me. So I think it's important in this conversation around menopause to understand that what is the normal kind of stages we go through, and then for those women like myself who may experience premature menopause. And there are other conditions I think you mentioned maybe when we did the other attempt at live, like PCOS, you know, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which are things that affect a woman's fertility. So it's I think they say it's about 5% of the population. I have to look up the latest stats on it, but I actually believe that maybe more women are going through it now because they could be environmental factors that are affecting even our fertility. Does that
Okay,
answer?
so
Does that give you a bit more information
what's
on that?
yeah, so what's the interlink between what we're calling amenorrhea, disappeared periods,
Yeah.
PCOS, where you have more testosterone or more androgens, so you don't produce eggs or your
Yeah.
follicles don't mature,
I'm
and
not
this
sure. Yeah.
premature ovarian or rather primary ovarian insufficiency, I think that's what you called it. What's the difference like? Because we I think from my perspective, it all kind of seems like the same thing. You know, the body has been affected either by environmental factors or by food or even trauma or even stress, and begins to now sort of accelerate
Yeah.
aging or accelerate a certain
Yeah.
process in the body. Doesn't have enough vitamins, doesn't have produce enough progesterone, or has excess estrogen. So maybe you can, looking at the hormones, what exactly is happening at that time?
So, and also it can be genetic, right? So you mentioned environmental factors and all the big, it can also be genetic where, you know, maybe in your family, your mother, your grandmother may have had. So focusing on POI or premature ovarian insufficiency, which is what I went through, is essentially your ovaries fail younger. I think for me, they never really could, there was no genetic, they do like genetic testing to see if there's a problem. There was none of that. But I did then find out that my mother and my grandmother both went through menopause a bit earlier than the average age of 51. So I think it's important for women to have these conversations so you can find out from your mother and your grandmother, you know, kind of what their fertility journey is or was. Which is why the conversation is so important. And we're not really having it very much, I would say, in Africa. And in the West, they're only really starting to have this conversation also about menopause, definitely much more than we are. So that just understanding your family history is important. But for a woman like me who had POI, I did have irregular periods. But what did the doctors do? They put me on birth control to regulate my periods, right? Instead of kind of investigating further. And the interesting thing is that when I started doing research and learning about this, about menopause, perimenopause, and then I learned about premature ovarian insufficiency or premature menopause, I went back and looked at my lab tests because I had hormone tests that I was doing in my early 40s, and it was right there written: ovarian insufficiency, ovarian failure, you know, menopausal. But because I don't really, at that point, you know, I'm just any lay person who's getting lab tests and taking it to my doctor, I'm not looking at it trying to understand. They're just telling me, oh, you know, it's difficult for you to get pregnant, consider a donor egg. So I think it's part of the education.
Okay. Because I do know the funny thing is, with IVF now, something that a lot of women don't understand is even as they go for IVF or they try
Mhm.
and extract the eggs, if they haven't done the AMH
Yeah,
test, which
yeah,
actually shows whether you have the eggs, you're not supposed to actually be taken through that process because there's women now
yeah,
who they don't know, they don't do that test, and the doctor injects you with all these hormones and all these other things, and you go through the process, you spend like 500,000 Kenya shillings, and then at the end of it, you just see that thing saying, oh, recommended donor eggs. And then you say, but the
yes,
doctor said I had follicles, my follicles were going to mature, and I was getting all these injections, and I've spent all this money. Why didn't somebody tell me? So
exactly,
that it's
exactly.
very it's I'm glad that you said that because even as women come to us and say, I'm not getting pregnant, the
Hmm.
first thing we always ask them is, have you done this test? Do
Yeah,
you know what's going on with your hormones? Do you really, I mean, because I think it's a shrouded in mystery, this whole fertility and infertility thing. It's, oh, she can't get
hmm,
pregnant. I wonder why. Oh, she's cursed, or this has happened,
right.
or she waited so late, she had so many abortions, or she took too much P2. there's so much conversation around this when I think it's good for us to demystify, just
Yeah.
demystify.
Yes.
I mean, there's the whole, what we're calling epigenetics now, in the sense that we're not as fertile as our mothers or as our grandmothers. You know, we may have the times that we do get pregnant, we may be able to hold the pregnancy better, perhaps, and also because we're having our babies later, which in itself, I mean, I always say there's nothing wrong with that, because we do want to be having enough money or in a good relationship, in a good partnership. You want to have your house or your car when you're having your baby, then you're not struggling so much with everything. Whereas in the
Yeah.
past or in the village, women are having babies at age 18, you know, we have underage pregnancies, and then they're deemed to be more fertile.
Yeah.
So I think fertility is a very delicate topic. So maybe we can talk about what are the symptoms that manifest for perimenopause and menopause and the difference. I mean, I know I read out loud somewhere that this woman was talking about how she went from being in the rainforest to being in the Sahara Desert. That's what perimenopause is. It's like your body just 1 minute you're cold, you know, it's
Yeah.
just like the weather today. 1 minute you're cold and it's raining, and then next thing it is so damn hot, and then you
Yeah.
sweat, and then you think you're just losing the plot. I mean, I think for myself, what I've started experiencing, which I find very unusual, is these strange muscle cramps on my wrists, and they only happen for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes every night, but at a specific time when they wake you up. So I'm wondering if I'm losing you.
I'm
Uh,
losing you too.
uh,
Okay.
Aha, you're back, right?
Yeah.
So I was just talking about these weird pains that
Mhm.
every time I go to the gym, I have to complain to my trainer about these, you know, these subtle pains. They're very subtle, and I think I did go through a period of the hot flushes for about a week, and then I went back to the supplements that I actually sell myself, and I got back on that just to manage my estrogen progesterone. So tell us a little bit more. I know earlier you said to me there's like 50 different ways to experience perimenopause or menopause. Let's list them
Yeah.
all. Let's get them out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So during perimenopause, what's really is happening with women is that we start to have our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and eventually testosterone start to go down. Okay. And progesterone tends to go down kind of like that, but estrogen does a lot of this up and down, up and down, up and down through perimenopause. So some of the common indicators that you're going through perimenopause, if you're going through it through the normal, normal age of your mid 40s, so I would say over 42, over 45, one of the things women will start to see is irregular periods. That's a classic sign,
Okay.
okay? Or heavy periods, which we call crime scene periods. So like your periods are generally normal, then all of a sudden you just have really heavy periods. Because
Okay.
during perimenopause, you have moments when your estrogen goes up. So you have like moments of estrogen dominance in your body, which is what causes that, heavy period. And then, so if you're a woman who's tracking your periods and you start to notice something different, and you're over 42 or over 45, those are the general ages that we say we kind of mark for the perimenopause phase, then you know you're probably in perimenopause. Then some women will start to have hot flashes or night sweats. But a big one that we really need to talk about is things that are related to the brain. Okay, so
Okay.
like brain fog, mood
Okay.
swings, memory difficulties, not feeling like yourself, anxiety, panic disorder, irritability. Some women even get kind of bouts of depression. Women who have never really had depression before, and then they start to get it during perimenopause into menopause. Because what the research is now showing is that estrogen, which is our super hormone as a woman, is actually the master regulator of our brain. And we're
Okay.
different that way than men. So there's a really good book. Oh my God, I have to show you. It's called The XX Brain. This
Okay.
book was written by Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who is one of the leading scientists who's doing research about estrogen and the woman's brain. So I have to bring that up, and I put the book out there for any woman who really likes to read or wants to learn more about how we as women are really impacted by our hormones, because we are, you know, from puberty through our periods, through perimenopause to menopause and after. So the brain symptoms, then other things that happen, the physical symptoms, you could have things like hair loss, unexplained dizziness, sleep problems, weight gain. This is a big one, around the belly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we call
Okay.
it the belly, the menopause belly.
Okay.
It's like your shape changes. You know,
Y-
from hourglass, you start to see some fat
Apple.
depositing around your belly. Yes, from
You
a
get the
pear
apple
to an
shape.
apple. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, and then things also like bloating, you know, you could have changes in your body odor. You could have headaches and migraines, joint
Okay.
pains, muscle pains, electric shocks, you know, breast pain.
Aha.
I'm even looking at some of these things, dry and itchy skin, looking at my list of symptoms. So there are many things, because as women, estrogen is so important in our entire body, and we have the receptors all over our body, okay, from head to toe, from your outside to your inside. So even other symptoms are related to to your vaginal health,
Vaginal
and basically what we
dryness. Yeah.
call genital urinary symptoms. So it'd be vaginal dryness, um, incontinence, increased UTIs, and the incontinence is basically three kinds of incontinence. And then over time, when you now go from perimenopause into menopause, after you've not had your periods for 12 months, and usually, as I said, you start getting those kind of irregular periods or heavy periods, which is telling you, hey, I'm in perimenopause, plus many of the other symptoms. And some of these are like, even like PMS type symptoms. And then as you hit menopause, then the genital urinary symptoms, you know, in addition to vaginal dryness, then eventually there's also vaginal atrophy, meaning that your
Wow.
vaginal wall becomes thinner. There's issues with painful sex, you know, and all that I mentioned before. So the impact is all over our body.
Okay.
And I think women, you know, but what I want to say, and this is very important, is that every woman goes through this journey, you know, has a unique journey through menopause. So I'm not saying that every woman is going to feel any of these changes or symptoms. Some women will, some women won't. It's a very personal, unique journey. So no two women go through it alike. Even I think among sisters, since sisters may have certain changes in common, but they also have kind of their unique journey. So important to
Okay.
know.
Okay. Tell me, what did you mean by electric shocks? I think everything else people can understand. I mean, the vaginal atrophy is probably the one that is like it just seals, it seals, it seals the deal, like it's a done deal. No one ever thinks that's going to happen to them at age 50,
Yeah,
you know? Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. The
So tell
electrical
us a little
shock,
bit more about this. Yeah, this
yeah.
electric shocks.
I guess they say it's kind of like an unpredictable shock sensation some women feel in their body, and it could be related to a hot flash. So you, or maybe you feel like it's like, you know, ignition. I've heard women say from their feet, they feel like this, and then the heat just rises through your body. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So
Okay.
I think that's one of the more odd kind of symptoms, even like tingling extremities, maybe your fingers and your toes, burning mouth. Those are more, can I use the word peculiar? They're not like the
Okay.
commonly known. The commonly known we kind of went through, right? Um, so as I said, I think I mentioned this to you before, when I started doing research in this area and learning about perimenopause and menopause, they were quoting, there were about 34 symptoms, and now they've said women, they're up to 50 different symptoms, because
Okay.
only now is there more research being done about this transition, which is a natural transition. So I want to be clear, it's not a disease, it's a very natural transition that we women go through, and that we're losing our sex hormones, which is estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. The testosterone loss happens more from post-menopause. You don't feel it as much when you're in the perimenopausal phase.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's
So,
important because, you know, women are presumably, I'd say, living longer, working longer. Women are starting businesses later, having children later, right?
mhm.
So I know women who are having children in their 40s and even in their early 50s. So it's important to know this because it's going to impact your general well-being and your health.
Okay, okay.
And
So
yeah,
let's
and
just
part
delve a
of
little bit
this,
into the
yes,
psychological and the emotional element, I
okay,
think, for many people, and how it impacts your relationships. I
yeah,
think that's one thing that, because we just talk about the physical symptoms, but then what happens in
yeah,
your world? What happens when you go to work, or when you're sweating all the time, or when you can't sleep? I mean, I
mm,
think we really need to emphasize so that you don't think you're just kind of going crazy in your own little world out there.
yeah. So definitely there's that mental health aspect to it, or emotional, which is that feeling of, am I going crazy, right? So mood swings, I find, is a big thing that happens with women, and it impacts their relationships, right? And it's interesting to me that even when I talk to younger people about menopause, and they're like, oh, so is that what my mother is going through? You know, like they recognize maybe their mother or somebody in their family is very emotional, maybe rage, anger, you know, because of the hormonal fluctuation.
Okay.
It's kind of accentuated.
Yeah.
Um, it's a contributor. Okay, it could be that the woman already has things she's dealing with, and this just kind of accelerates or makes her mood swings kind of more varied. So these things happen in relationships. And I think if men, partners, spouses understand that the woman is going through this kind of hormonal transition of perimenopause and menopause, maybe they can be more supportive, even children, because it's kind of like maybe you give your mother or your sister or your wife some time out. Give her some time to, is there anything I can help you with in the household? Is there, you know, maybe you need some time to go and see your friends. And because the reality is this generation of women who are going through perimenopause and menopause, I say we refer to, and it's us, right? We're in the
Mhm.
sandwich generation. So when we say sandwich, we're here, we have parents we're taking care of, we have children we're taking care of, and we're in the middle. So there's like, you know, that kind of stress, I would say, from dealing
Mhm.
with family, extended family, and then probably work. And then your hormones are changing, and you're wondering, why am I not coping, right? And then stress doesn't help. If you have high levels of stress, it doesn't help your transition. So
Okay.
this is where I kind of start to say, and we'll talk about it, that you also have to really stop and look at your lifestyle. You know, how are you eating? How are you moving? How are you handling stress? You know, how are you relaxing? Are you socializing? Are you finding time for yourself? Because you need to. Because the menopause, you have to take kind of a pause and evaluate so that you can get to the wisdom of it, you know?
Okay. So two questions have come up. You can cover them at any time. One person had said, how do I deal with the hot flushes? Another one asked, how do I cope? How can I overcome the anxiety? So maybe we can start to talk about what you can do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for at this transitional stage, or what you should be doing, or what you should be thinking of. You
Yeah.
know, perhaps we can delve into that.
Okay. So, um, in terms of the did you want me to do both hot flashes and anxiety, right?
Yes.
So, in terms of the hot flashes, I find, okay, I'm going to name a product, and, you know, I find a lot of women have said that there's a product called Evanova that has been successful for women who have really bad hot flashes. I
Okay.
believe it comes out of India. And I actually have friends, one friend who told me about it. I had no idea. I was like, oh, okay. And then I've heard it mentioned several times when I've gone for different events.
Okay.
The other thing, which is a herbal supplement, is black cohosh, which is also
Okay.
highly recommended for hot flashes. Women have reported that they've had success in managing their hot flashes while using black cohosh. There is a a good supplement called Menopause Support, which I've used, which is in the pharmacy, that has kind of different herbs, which includes black cohosh, and some other herbs that are supposed to help women kind of support them through menopause. And so that's what I would say. The other thing is, I think if you accept that it's happening, you know, there's a thing like women sometimes feel shame that they're breaking out into a hot sweat, especially if they're at work, right? Maybe you're making a presentation and then all of a sudden you want to sweat, like you're just feeling the heat coming. And the hot flush is happening because with the decrease of estrogen in your brain, there's a signal that tells your body how to regulate your body temperature. That is not working like it used to, okay? So with the misfiring of the signal, you're not able to regulate your body temperature like you used to. Then you have these flushes of heat. So I think part of it, I've had women who just say, I just embrace it, and that the less resistance they have to it, then it seems to pass faster, okay?
Okay.
I think also, you know, for the night sweats, because it's related to the hot flashes, women generally who have a lot of hot flashes will also have night sweats, which is just, I guess, hot flashes when you're sleeping. Things like keeping your room cool, you know, is important, like your, you know, what you sleep in, like cotton. But a big one is just keeping the room cooler than you normally would, and that should help. But of course, you know, if you're with your husband or your partner, you might have to be considerate of them.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned the supplements. I'm glad you mentioned black cohosh actually, because we have a product, Harriet Botanicals Mosip Chort, which has 9 different trees, and one of them is black cohosh. I mean, in my culture, black cohosh is called nukiat, and actually we use so this particular product has a number of properties, and the main thing it does is really evacuate excess glucose. So it works to support the pancreas by working on insulin resistance. So we always say evacuate sugar in the joints, sugar in the blood, and sugar in the brain. So, and also stimulates and jumpstarts the thyroid. And then, of course, as what you said, black cohosh does. We also have arrowroot. Arrowroot now is, you know, our flagship product that's doing really well, that has actually built us. And what that will do is regulate the intense estrogen drop. So we have had some success, because the women who came and said, oh my God, my period was terrible during perimenopause. I used to bleed out, you know, for like days and days and weeks and weeks. And we've had some success with that. So just wanted to mention that. And of course, we have our super fertility, which has a maca, sea moss, and baobab and moringa in there. I think it's a very critical time to be making sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need. You get all this nutritional support. It's probably something that you can talk about. I think exercise helps a lot, especially, obviously, again, with insulin resistance, especially if you're doing strength training. I think strength training for women is absolutely underrated. And if you're above 40, you should start doing that, so that it can then help you with all these aches and bakes that come out of nowhere, and suddenly you find that you can't go up the stairs the way you used to. You're not bounding up and down like you when you were a young lass. So maybe you can talk a little bit about you know, the nutrition side, what you should be eating, and the exercise side as well.
Absolutely. And for the woman who asked about how to deal with anxiety, all this is going to help, right? What we're talking about also in terms of lifestyle changes. And then eventually I'll talk about hormone replacement, because I think it's important it's worth mentioning. So in terms of food and exercise, you know, we have to look at what lifestyle interventions we can take during the transition. So with nutrition, one of the things that you can add are plant phytoestrogens, okay? So plant phytoestrogens are essentially, flaxseed is a very good source of plant phytoestrogen. And I find that, you know, I crush it like 50%, 60%, just to make it more bioavailable. And then I put it in food, in yogurt, in salad. Like I kind of take my flaxseed every day, honestly. I found that it's really good support, and also helps like if you have any bloating or constipation, because it kind of but it has to be crushed. And then if you crush it, and not 100%, because if you crush it 100%, then it'll taste like, that fishy, like omena type of taste. So you crush it about 50, 60%, that opens the kernels, then it's bioavailable, then you put it in your food. And then when you crush it, I would put it in the fridge as well, so that it doesn't become rancid once it's already
so you just put it in like a yogurt or something like that, or a smoothie?
Yes, smoothie, yogurt. I mean, I even put it in like rice and curry, or on top of like, if I do like an avocado, I mix it in, or a salad, I sprinkle it on there. You can put it in pretty much anything. I don't think it has slightly kind of a slightly nut. Yes, flaxseed. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I say put in phytoestrogens, and I think the good one to get is flaxseed. Soy products are difficult because they have to be organic soy products. Soy is also another big source of phytoestrogen, but there's a lot of if you're not able to get organic soy products, question marks. And then the recommended diet, of course, you really need to reduce your carbohydrates. And when I say carbs, it's more like wheat, and white products, white rice, white potatoes. Carbs are still good. They're important for energy. I love carbs. I eat it, but I eat brown rice. I eat more sweet potatoes. I eat, ndoma, and ndoma is, guache, so ndoma, sweet potato, arrowroot. There's so much we have in Kenya, millet, sorghum. Those are the kind of things we should be looking at. Wheat is, I don't know, they did some stuff in the mirror. I call it's like genetically modified. They did something with wheat to make it be able to grow faster, and it has kind of messed up wheat and made it more like as if you're eating sugar. There's a really good video, I wish I could link it here, of a woman who talks about this. So wheat kind of creates a lot of problems for women. And for me personally, I have a gluten intolerance, which means I don't do wheat. So I would say limit your chapatis. Try to eat more wholesome carbohydrates, then lots of vegetables and multicolored vegetables. So, they quote the Mediterranean diet very much for women going through menopause, which means you have multicolored fruits and vegetables. So red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, the different beans, because we have so many different beans that you can have. Incorporating more seeds in your food. So less processed food, less just kind of break up with processed foods, less cakes, less bread. Eat wholesome, nutrient-dense food, and then lean protein, I would say, and I would encourage you to eat, fish if you can. And omena is really good, and buta, those, because they have omega. I would say limit your beef because it's just, you don't digest it as quickly. But I'm not saying don't eat it. I'm the kind of person, I say eat what you like, but know the things that are good for you and the things that are not so good for you, and limit those. So the processed foods. And then things like coffee. Like I love coffee, but I think now I have to stop drinking coffee by 11 a.m., 12, right? Because it can affect your sleep. Hydrate.
It's like one cup of coffee a day should be enough.
I actually have two in the morning. And then I'm okay. But if you drink, like before, I used to have coffee in the afternoon, 3 p.m. I can't do that anymore because it affects your sleep. So even the nutrition, like that affects sleep. So I think nutrition, that's pretty much what we're looking at. In terms of exercise, we kind of have to change the way we exercise because we don't have as much hormonal support. So when we were younger, cardio was king. Everybody loved cardio. But as you're getting older, you need more strength training or resistance training, okay? So strength training, lifting weights, resistance training is things like with bands or using your body weight. Incorporating that, more of that, it does kind of a couple of things. It gives you support for your muscle mass, for your bones, because once we are over 40, we're losing about 3% of our muscle mass every year. So strength training and resistance training really helps us as we get older. And because our metabolism is also going down, is slowing down, when we strength train, then we're able to build more muscle mass, which allows us to burn more fat. So in a way, we're helping our metabolism also. Okay.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. What
Yeah.
there's three questions actually. And what you just said, actually, I do know the video that you're talking about that you watched, and the lady said that what has happened now is that they have created this hybrid wheat because they want to be
Yes.
able to grow more and to grow
Mhm.
it faster.
Yes.
But the kind of wheat that it's not the original wheat that we used to have, let's say Zamani Zakale,
Mhm.
200 years ago. This wheat now has a glycemic index that is higher than sugar
Yeah.
itself. Actually, so when you think that, oh, I'm having wheat or I'm having this, which is, or even when you have brown bread or whatever bread you
Mhm.
think you're having, as long as it's been super processed
Correct.
and it's like being sold as healthy.
Yeah.
So what we're being asked to do is just go back to our natural traditional foods. You talked about your
Yeah.
ndoma, you talked about your sweet potato, you talked about your cassava, your millet, your
Mhm.
sorghum, all the stuff that you eat at grandma's. And we're just being asked to sort of like reset and go back to being the way we used to be.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about rope skipping, and I said, yes, that's good cardio. I think what we'd like to emphasize for this particular time in your life is strength and resistance training,
Mhm.
also because of the metabolic aspect. It'll help you
Mhm.
with metabolic syndrome, and at the same time, it'll help you preserve all the bone structure that you need. That means that you can maintain a good posture because you're still using your bones. As
Yeah.
we get older, we're using less of our body, and there's younger people and small people around us who do everything for us. I mean, you one day you wake up and when you go to the supermarket, you realize you don't do anything. You don't even push your trolley. You've got someone who put it into the trolley for you. Then you've got someone who pushed that trolley to the car, and then you've got someone who put it in the car for you. And all
Mhm.
you have to do is drive. So you're spending so much time sitting. You're spending time when you get home, you've been sitting all day at work, right?
Yeah.
When you get home again, you sit and you watch Netflix and then you sleep. So even though people say, what do you mean I should be exercising? Think about that woman in the village when you go and you
Mhm.
discover she looks 40 something, but maybe she's 74 and she
Mhm.
looks way younger than you do. It's because she's walking all the time and continues to use her body. She's digging, she's bending, she's sweeping, doing all those amazing natural things. I mean, moving natural movements.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there was some questions and I'm just going to look for them and see if I can. Somebody said, what foods would you recommend for to help with estrogen? Yeah, which foods can boost progesterone or reduce estrogen for those with estrogen dominance?
Mhm.
And there was one more question, which I can't seem to find right now. Aha, but maybe we can continue with what it was that you were saying, and maybe you can respond to that question.
Yeah, I think generally eating better, healthier, what we've talked about in terms of the Mediterranean diet, eating wholesome food, which has fiber, less sugar, is good overall. Okay.
Okay.
Even for people who are experiencing estrogen dominance. And I don't focus on that so much because I'm dealing more with women who are losing estrogen. Yeah. In terms of,
Okay.
so I don't
Yeah.
want to make any recommendation. I think that one is, if you have a particular case around estrogen dominance, it's better to check with your doctor if they have any specific recommendations for you. I would say that. But if you're eating well, limiting sugar, non-processed foods, lots of vegetables. Did I say, yeah, lots of, even the green leafy vegetables, we have so many, managu, kunde, terere, these are all skuma, spinach. These are such good vegetables that we
Mm-hmm.
should be incorporating because it also gives us all the minerals we need, antioxidants. So I think the healthy diet will help any woman in whatever phase she's in. That's the way I'd like to answer that
Okay.
question. And I wanted to say one
Okay.
other thing that you were saying is walking is underrated, right? So for women, and I'll just go back to exercise because you talked about how in the village women walk, they go, get their water, they're like cleaning, they're in different, natural positions. So I say the gym is optional, but movement is not when you're in menopause. What does
Okay.
that mean? You can
Yeah.
walk. You can walk in your neighborhood. You can go to the forest. You can walk up and down your house if you have stairs. Just walk. It's the movement. And then the more you do these activities that are more natural, like, walking even in your own house. Maybe you send less sending of your children or somebody in your house and get up and do certain things. It also helps with your basic activity. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Cindy Wanjiko. She's 29 years old and she suffers from anxiety, which happens with physical symptoms. How can she reduce on the symptoms? So maybe you can again speak on what we talked about, the ovarian insufficiency. I just think it's something that people don't understand. And I've met women who've got PCOS who say my period disappeared for 2 years and they're very anxious about it. Or women who, when you say spotting, they say that's a trigger. You're triggering me whenever you use that word, spotting. So can we maybe debunk, some of these myths and talk about it so people don't feel so stressed and anxious in their homes when they think nobody understands what's going on with them? Yeah.
Well, I mean, for the lady who's asking, she's 29 and she's suffering from anxiety. I'm curious when she says physical symptoms, what exactly she means. Because to me, that's not a clear question. Is it maybe she could just, what's her name? Let me see.
Yeah.
Shiko
Cindy Wanjiko.
Wanjiko. Yeah. I'm not clear because at 29, hormonally, you should still be okay. You're in premenopause, which means that you still have your full hormonal function. Your estrogen should be normal, your progesterone and your testosterone. So that question.
Cindy, maybe you can tell us a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I wasn't surprised because I meet a lot of young women really struggling with hormonal issues in their 20s. I was surprised that you mentioned this condition and you said that it's something that's not being talked about because I've met a few women who know what this is, but I have met women at 26 years old and they have not had a period for like 6 years. I've met women who have never had a period. They're 28, they want to have a period, they want to have a baby. So I think it's just the whole range of progesterone, estrogen, or just none of it at all. It's something that is completely underexplored. And then she'll tell us more, of course.
Yes, to answer to that, because for me, my journey was that. Like I started my periods a bit later, like maybe around 16. And then I remember when I was in my mid-20s, I went for 8 months without a period. And my partner, who was my husband at that point, was like, hey, how have you not had a period for 8 months, right? So I went to see the doctor. For me, I was like, I'm not trying to get pregnant. It was convenient.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was like freedom.
I was probably about 25. I'm like, yeah, I'm not bleeding. It's fine. I don't have to worry about pads and stuff like that. So if you don't have periods and you're young, it's a problem. Go and see the doctor. Have them check your ovary function. It probably means you have a problem and you could have premature ovarian failure, as I found out much later when I should have known much sooner, because then you can take the action you need to take. Like, what can you do as soon as you find out to really, help you with your hormonal support? Do you need to look at I don't know, freezing eggs? Women are doing that if they're able to afford it, or you have a baby with some help at the time, or you figure out what Harriet Botanicals has, because I know you said you have a lot of things that help women with periods. Getting them regular with fertility, and it's traditional medicine. And, I believe in traditional food, and I'm so happy to hear that you're using traditional medicine. And, I'm wanting to learn more because it's something that we can recommend to women also going through not only premature ovarian failure, but perimenopause and any kind of fertility difficulties, but also through the transition of perimenopause and menopause, because you need some menopause, you need some hormonal support. And I'll now even go into, and I don't know if you want me to go right into hormone replacement therapy.
Before you speak about that, Cindy has responded and saying, by physical symptoms, I mean you feel restless. And then somebody says, I am with Cindy, I'm also 29 and I've been treating hormonal balance for the longest. It's more common now, truthfully, and I hear it's because of P2. Now, I mean, we could talk forever about P2 because I think what a lot of people don't realize is that P2 actually was one of the biggest catalysts for the growth of my business. Because when I first started, I thought I was treating women my age in their 40s, and I had a focus mainly on fibroids and painful periods and things like endometriosis. But I came across a lot of young women really struggling with hormonal issues in their 20s. And
Yeah.
some say, yes, it's because of, well, because of the misuse of the P2, which, some people say that, just taking too much P2 the whole year, every time you think you could get pregnant, you just take this P2 and taking it outside of its context. So maybe
Yeah.
you can say a little bit about birth control and that kind of birth control, the emergency contraception, and how it might affect your mood before you, or, affect your hormones and things like that before you go into
Yeah,
HRT.
wow. That one is that's a complicated one for me. I feel like I don't want it's what happens with birth control actually is that it actually suppresses your normal ovarian function. Did you know that?
Okay.
So it suppresses your normal hormone cycle and creates for you it gives you, like, it blocks your natural production, and then it gives you estrogen and progesterone as needed to regulate your cycle so that you have a period. So I can see how it could interfere, and that's really, I think, if women are seeing that they're taking birth control and it's affecting them, then they really should go to the doctor, or maybe look for some hormonal support with some of the products you have.
Okay.
So yes, I think, and I didn't even realize that actually birth control suppresses your normal ovarian function. It was a surprise for me
Yes.
to learn. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, the same with me because my problem started when I was 16, 17, and I wish even at 30, I knew what it was I had. I wish even at 40, I didn't really know because I was not diagnosed for a very long time. But I do remember when I complained about very painful periods, and I had endo. And for me, when I complained, and I was in England at the time, and they put me on birth control for about 6 months, and I didn't really know what it was for. You just go to the doctor and you say, this is what's going on, and they put you on birth control. And at the time, I wasn't even sexually active. So it was just one of those things. And if I just got off it because I thought, what is this anyway? I'm not really enjoying this. But I never thought about the consequences at any given time. And I do say now that I know all I know, and now that I see so many women struggling with all these things, what
Yeah.
I then say is, if you want to have children, definitely start early. Don't take anything for granted. I know you're
Yeah.
studying and you're making your money, you're in your hustle, you're not yet financially secure, but you should prioritize that sort of thing. You don't want to have any regrets later, or you can preserve your eggs, which is better done when you're in your 20s again and in your 30s. And also just accept life the way it is. You may have to use a donor egg later on. You may have to
Yeah.
go for IVF. You may have to go for hormone replacement therapy, which you talk about, because I don't think anybody should suffer.
Yeah.
What I recommend from Harriet's Botanicals is live a natural life as much as possible. Avoid any excesses, whether it's alcohol, whether it's coffee, whether it's an excess lifestyle, whether it's overwork, whether it's lack of sleep, whether it's too much travel, whether it's eating carbs. Even if you're eating vegetables, avoid eating excess vegetables, excess protein, and try very much to mimic your grandmother's life. And that
Yeah.
way, I think you will have the best life for you. Like, live an African life, eat natural African food, grow your own food, so you can also have the experience of creating something for you. So that is and use traditional medicine, of course. Use allopathic medicine as needed. It is there to support you. All these advances in medicine, even birth control, actually were developed to support us so that we could postpone having babies as we do other things. So I don't believe in having a negative outlook towards anything. Use Indian medicine if you can, like things like ashwagandha come from the Indian medicine, traditional medicine tradition. Use Chinese medicine. Just research, Google, ask around, do your research, and use whatever is there in your environment to support you. So maybe you can say a little bit about HRT.
Yeah.
I've probably kept you
Yes.
quite a while, and we have one more question.
Yes.
But yes, carry on.
So, yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, and I believe that too. And you mentioned some really good, like, adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, which help with stress support. There's maca. There are many natural things that come from other places that are also really good for hormonal support and just supporting our body through stress and different things. But in terms of hormone replacement therapy, so, when we go through menopause, we become deficient in estrogen, which is our super hormone as a woman. And and for women who go through premature menopause, like myself, right, it's happening much younger. So as I mentioned, I had looked at my lab results from like the early 40s, and I saw 41, it was 41, 42, whatever, where I was already categorized as menopausal, which is a whole decade before most women go through it. So if you're already in a deficiency, estrogen deficiency, when you're younger, hormone replacement therapy is highly, highly recommended, because in order to stop like premature aging and possible kind of like health effects, they highly recommend it. And I only found this out like when I was about 49. So I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I already know that I've been deficient probably a decade or so, almost 10 years. And so I chose to go on hormone replacement therapy because it's highly recommended. But I think it's also could be helpful for other women in perimenopause, in their 40s and even in the 50s, because what you're doing is that your body is in a deficient state, and then you take hormones. And you take estrogen, which is what we really need. And then you take progesterone if you still have a uterus. So some women may have a hysterectomy and they don't have a uterus, they don't need progesterone. Progesterone is only given to you to control the lining of your endometrium, because as you put estrogen into your body, then your uterus the lining could thicken because of estrogen. So the progesterone is there to balance that so that you don't have any health effects or cancer from just estrogen lining your uterus. And that's why I like to say this, it's like a deficiency. If you have a thyroid problem and you don't have enough thyroxine in your body, you're given the medication to replace the deficiency. If you have diabetes, it means you have an insulin deficiency. You're given insulin to control your diabetes. So for women, they should have the choice or option to look into hormone replacement therapy if you want to supplement the hormones in your body. And hormone replacement therapy is different from birth control. Birth control can be used for hormone replacement therapy in perimenopausal women because it gives you some estrogen, and it gives you kind of like a consistent amount because it stops what your body is doing. But it's better when you hit menopause to actually take hormone replacement therapy, which is more body identical, which means that it's like what your body actually produces. So you're not suppressing any function of anything in your body. You're actually just supplementing the hormones that you're losing. So I say this, it's an option that we should consider. It's not talked about much, I think, in Africa. And in the West, for the longest time, women were scared of taking it because there was a big cancer scare in the 90s. 2001, 2002, there was the World Health Initiative, which put out a study that kind of said, hey, if you take estrogen, then you have a higher chance of getting breast cancer. They have since reviewed the study. And ovarian
cancer as well.
And ovarian. They have since reviewed the study and rubbished a lot of the findings. It was not statistically significant. The women they used in the study were already older, average age being around 63. Many of them were smokers. So the control group was not that great. So when they went back and looked at it, and it was put out in the media, and it was like a media scare, like, hey, HRT causes cancer. So now, this is early 2000s. So it was a media campaign also. They've gone back, they've reviewed the study, and they've said, no, it can be very helpful for women, especially estrogen only. So I think it's a conversation a woman should go and have with her doctor if she's struggling through perimenopause and menopause. And that's the key, if you're struggling through it, because some women, they go through it and they're just fine. But there's some women who go through it and suffer. Like for me, it was very difficult. Yeah, for me, it was, I felt like I was going crazy. Energy was impacted. I had anxiety, about even moments of depression. I was, menopause belly, kind of a lot of weight gain, and you just feel like you're not yourself. So with the platform, my platform, Fabulous Living, which I hope some of you here who are, maybe looking to go through the transition, are already going through it, please join Fabulous Living. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have conversations around this. This is my platform is a knowledge and awareness platform for us to talk about perimenopause and menopause, and for women to learn that hormone replacement therapy is an option, but should be done with their doctor.
Okay. Just some comments. So Kemunto has 3 comments. She says, the gynacs I've seen refuse to even discuss HRT. I've been tested and my ovarian function is very low. And then she had actually made some other comments. She said, CMOS, slippery M, I'm getting worried. It's all too much. When is a supplement take too much? I've taken maca powder, red clover, black cohosh, ashwagandha. And somebody else has asked, does arrowroot help with menopause symptoms? And somebody else, anything to control autoimmune progesterone dermatitis. So what I would say to Kemunto is, I'm not sure why your doctors are reluctant to discuss HRT. What I would tell you, if you find that there's too many things that you're taking, whether it's maca, CMOS, slippery, black, everything, ashwagandha, what I would change first, and even before I take any of these supplements, even before I take anything from us, is I would really change your diet, like literally look into insulin resistance, carbohydrates, and also get into some exercise. Just change the body, change how the body is working, change the mechanics around the body. If you feel that there's just too much, I know what it feels like to feel like everything is being thrown at us. And now with the internet around, literally every minute you're being told what to take, what not to take, what to eat, what diet, intermittent fasting, the keto diet, it just becomes a little bit too much. So somebody else is asking, does arrowroot help with menopause symptoms? Yes, it does. I just need to quickly charge this. Hold on a sec, because just make sure this doesn't go off.
Okay.
1 second. Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Tell us about arrowroot, and then I'll answer.
Arrowroot does. I mean, so arrowroot again is really, it helps you to balance your hormones. So when you have excess estrogen, it helps you to evacuate estrogen through your liver and improves your digestive function. It's an all-round detox. At the same time, it helps you, if your estrogen is too high, your progesterone is too low, the idea is just to bring them back into balance. It's more of a fertility product. So you have to think of it like it just brings back, it gives you back some of that good estrogen so that the effect is not so severe. At least for me, that's what I experienced when I used my own product to manage perimenopause, so to speak, because there was a time I thought, my God, this is just terrible. And then I didn't even know about perimenopause. I didn't know about menopause. So my products have been very useful for myself. I also use Mo Sleep Chart a lot. And I thought there was a time I'd stop using my product because I used it a lot years ago, but I'm back to using all of it, including Busareg for gut health. But I must say I exercise a lot. I really upped my game with strength training and resistance training. I take myself very seriously. I drink a lot of water. I actually check on my sleep because I know sleep affects weight gain. It affects your menopausal belly. It affects your hormones. So I discovered that without sleep, you could be doing all these other things. You're not getting enough sleep. You're drinking too much coffee, or you've got other excesses, and you're just not making it any easier for yourself. What has really helped me as well is colloidal magnesium. I've been all over the place looking for zinc, iron, and magnesium, but the most effective for me has been in the colloidal form, and those helped me a lot with any type of muscle aches. At the same time, starting to change my diet, reduce carbs. I eat a chapati occasionally, I eat bread occasionally, and just really trying to get into that mode where I want to be happy in my 50s. I want to be happy in my 60s. I have not been through any of the depression, any of the anxiety. Actually, I tell everybody these are the golden years because I'm in a very good place. And I think I love the fact that this is the age when you can really take control of your life. This is probably the time when you can spend your money on yourself. You have more time for yourself, and you've gotten to the point where you've established your boundaries, and you can say no to all these things that are stressing you out, or you can say no to the kind of friends or relationships that you don't need, or family that are very heavy on you. So I think there's a huge emotional and psychological, component also to managing menopause and perimenopause, and making this a good time for you. There was one question which you might about the autoimmune dermatitis. Have you heard of that? Because the other day somebody said to me their hair has all fallen off and they literally
Yeah.
have hair only over here, and then at night when they get the hot flushes it itches as well, and they've literally gone bald. And this is related to perimenopause, believe it or not. So the itching, the anxiety, the brittle
Yeah.
nails,
Yeah.
like the dry skin. So maybe
Yeah.
this is what this person is talking about. I've never heard of it as well. Autoimmune progesterone dermatitis. But definitely I'm going to go and try and find out what that is all about.
Yeah.
Let me just screenshot that as well.
I've also written
So maybe
it down.
some last words and some anything
Yeah.
else you'd like to tell us. It's been a very exciting conversation, I must say. I'm having lots of fun. I could go on forever, but
Yeah.
tell us something and then maybe we can end.
So, I just wanted to go back to the question that Kimunto asked about doctor not willing to give HRT. So I have a few doctors that I've had actually recently in my events who are actively giving women HRT. And I don't know if this is Kimunto Mogere, who might be on my platform already.
It is.
But
It is.
okay, so Kimunto, I can send you the contacts. Dr. Linda Thorpe is definitely somebody who I've recently started having on with going to events with, and she is also going through perimenopause and is pro hormone replacement therapy, and they even have some at Columbia Health. So I would say go and see her. Just say hi to her till I sent you. And then there's a couple others. I can send the information to you offline. Then just send me a message, please, because sometimes I say things and then I don't write them and then I won't do them. So if you could send me a reminder, in addition to Dr. Linda Thorpe, there's a couple other doctors. And in terms of all the different things we're taking, I want to say this. I see this, that, women here, oh, take this, take that, take CMOS, take, maca, and they just go and try, right? And even vitamins and supplements, I want women to, food is medicine. And I think you said it, right, Harriet, that what you eat matters. So start with food. Even calcium, the thing that everybody goes to buy, they found that calcium is better received in your body through food, not through pills. And actually, I think Dr. Linda Thorpe, when I was with her at the last event, she said, I've been reading studies that say taking calcium as a supplement is a waste of time. Just go to food. So that's number one. And then the other thing is just look at what your before you supplement, go and find out what your deficiencies are. There are tests. Absolutely. They even have it at Good Life in Sarit, I believe. You go and find out. Certain doctors do it. I think Columbia Health does it. You can go and do a test and see what vitamins are you deficient in, and then you supplement. Because supplementation, just even think about the word, it's supposed to supplement the gaps in you. You don't need to take things that you already have in your body. You need to take things that you don't have. Yeah, and that's what supplementation is about. Another thing we should think about is your gut health. And I think you mentioned that you have a product that's good for the gut health, but probiotics are good. They help a lot during this phase. If you're not able to digest, if you don't have a good microbiome, which means that you have healthy gut bacteria, then it's important you look at that and figure out how to get. And food is always a good place to start. Fermented foods are really good with helping your gut health. So you can look up probiotic foods, yogurt, as long as it's really a probiotic yogurt, because some of the things that are sold, they put so many other things in it. I would question, right, whether you have any probiotic in it. So I want to say, before we run and just take all these supplements and all these things, people go and look at yourself, see what you need, look at your food. Food is medicine, movement is medicine, try to heal yourself that way. because this is a natural change, and we want to embrace it naturally. And if you need hormone replacement therapy, you should be able to get it. It's your choice. It's your body. It's your choice. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so just to emphasize, because you did mention that you can actually go and do a vitamin deficiency test. I think Healthy You also do them.
Yes.
Right? And you can literally walk into the store and say you're looking for the machine that's going to check what nutrients are missing from your body. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, is there a test you can do to find out about your hormones? I said, yes, you can do a hormonal profile test. If you can afford, do all of them. And some of them are covered actually by health insurance. Your health insurance, private insurance will cover some, and your NHIF will cover others, and others you have to pay. But it's definitely worth it, I think, once a year to just go and do the full tests and know what's going on with you. And don't just do the test and let your doctor tell you. Go and research and see, what does this mean? When this is low, what does this mean? You're the only one who can take that decision about your life. Of course, we talked about food, very important. Food is medicine, way before any of the stuff that I sell, way before the vitamins that you go and buy at the health store, way before anything else. Just work on your food, be as natural as possible, and you'll probably find that is the best support for you. So there's some other questions. Somebody asked me about the autoimmune. Please inbox me so that I can remember to find out more about this condition and tell you we can help. Somebody else asked about arrowroot and breastfeeding, which is a no, but an ovarian cyst. Since this is out of topic and we're running out of time, I'd like you to inbox me any of those questions, and you know where to reach us and where to find us. Please follow Amina's page. I mean, she's been such a useful resource in this short time, and I think we can learn more and probably do another live, in a couple of months, because we're always learning, we're always growing. Thank you so much, Amina, for the time that you've put in this and all the stuff that you've given us absolutely for free. It's just amazing. Thank you for being a resource. Thank you for being there. Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for being like a guiding light, in these dark times of perimenopause, menopause, and letting us know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's light on the other side of 50. And there's something we can do about all these things that we are experiencing. So I think that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, and hope to see you again at another live. And this live will be available immediately after when we're done. And we will also save it and put it on our YouTube page. Asante sana. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.